Charles Grant, thanks for being with us. Now, we've seen that Theresa May has put a new proposal on the table allowing EU citizens living in the UK for 5 years to stay. Does it mean she's softening her stance somehow?
Her line is for a hard Brexit. The particular proposals she's made on the rights of EU citizens in Britain were to be expected. They were roughly in line with what the EU thought would happen. It's not enough for the EU, but as Angela Merkel said, it's a start. And I think they'll negotiate on that basis. The gap between the two sides is not a million miles, and I do think this will be one of the easier issues to resolve, because on both sides, for the 3 million EU citizens living in Britain and the 1 or 2 million Brits living in the EU, there are such strong reasons to get the deal done, to reassure these people who are very, very nervous about their futures. So I think I would predict that in a month or two there'll be some resolution.
Now, how about the UK's grim-looking economic forecast?
The impact of the 15% devaluation of the pound is pushing inflation up. Foreign investment is diminishing somewhat. There has been a lot of consumption driven by people spending, but that can't go on forever. And I think we are now expecting an economic downturn. And in particular, as the details emerge in the Brexit negotiations of the kind of relationship that we will have in future with the EU, less closely tied economically than in the past, business confidence will suffer. That'll affect consumer confidence. And I think there is a downturn coming. To what extent that leads public opinion to regret the decision to leave the EU is an open question.
How do you see trade flows evolving between the EU and the UK? And are we heading towards a hard or a soft Brexit?
I think we're heading certainly for a fairly hard Brexit, but the general election result, which has weakened Mrs May and strengthened the more moderate forces in Parliament, means it'll be softer and more moderate than that she initially envisaged. We will certainly have fairly modest restrictions on immigration. We may be less dogmatic in rejecting a role for the European Court of Justice, and we may perhaps stay in the EU's customs union.